Welcome back to the Fox Robbins Business Show. This show is all about developing your very best business ideas. This episode is episode number 2. It's a follow-up on installation and best use of financial software with Jacki Rivero, IT Project Manager. I'm the co-host of the show, Bill Fox, but the other co-host is, get this.
I'll get it.
It's compelling.
I won't understand it, but I'll get it.
Radiant, resourceful, and thermoelectric, Coach Robbins.
Electric, Mr. Bill, how are you?
Okay.
At least I understood thermoelectric. I didn't under voltage with electric.
We did an episode on this in selecting, installing, and using financial software. This is, by the way, we're not necessarily talking about an ongoing business. We're talking about when you're just in the startup of a business, or you're thinking about starting, or you are actually starting a business, or you have an ongoing business, whatever stage you're at. The discussion and recommendations that we're having here will pertain. Mm-hmm. And Jacki, we're going to go. Let's see. We're going to pick up the discussion on this slide that you labeled ease of use. Mm-hmm. And let's go down that list that you provided for us, okay?
Okay, repeat the slide or?
Yeah.
Okay, because we ended up talking about banking, and one of the things that a lot of people who are not experienced in business don't realize, this is sort of a side note, when we talk about debits and credits, 2 accounting terms that you need to know, the bank views your bank account as what they call a demand deposit account. And that means that if you come in and demand your money, they have to give it to you. So therefore, it's nice to have the cash, but they view it as something that is a liability, whereas your perspective is that it's an asset because it's your cash, it's your money. So we covered that topic briefly, and just to recap what we have here, the ease of use for financial softwares, it's just transaction based. You're either entering something like you sold something, or you bought something, or you paid a bill, or someone paid a bill. The software will go through and create all the reports that you need automatically. You don't have to worry about doing anything by hand or manually adjusting anything. And here are some of the reports that you will get, and just to give you an idea of what they're all about. Cash flow is exactly like what it sounds like. It's telling you when you have money coming in and when you may not have as much money. And the purpose of a cash flow report will help you to identify when you might need to maybe take a short-term business loan, or, for example, if you're expecting a large amount of cash coming in from sales, that might be the time that you want to go out and make more purchases as far as your raw materials are concerned.
Coach, cash flow is
More important than your mother. CFIMITYM. Because small businesses don't have those slack resources, as they're known, that big businesses have. You get to Thursday and you look at your account and you say, gee, I'm $500,000 short. Call headquarters. Toss $1 million in my account. Not going to happen. But a little retailer, a little plumbing supply company, they have to monitor their cash because they stay in business with cash.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
the P&L statement, of course.
Of course, the profit and loss statement. This is one of my favorites. Your actual profitability is not the difference in your bank account between the end of the year and the start of the year. There's a little more that goes into it. And the profit and loss statement will help really identify exactly how profitable your business is. And this will be a key one when you're talking to anybody who you're talking to as far as the status of your business is concerned.
You can't make these stories up that I've got, quite frankly. Some of them are so bizarre because I actually have people call and say, I need an appointment, I need to see you. Okay, great. My business is in trouble, fine. What should I bring? Bring in your tax returns and any financial data you have. My what? Your tax returns? I'm sure you've got those. They bring them in, they haven't got a clue about any of them. I can question a line item, no answer. My accountant does that. No, she doesn't. You've got to do it. You're supposed to know what's going on here. Well, let's see. I started the business 7 years ago, and then I remortgaged my house, I put money in then, and then I maxed out my credit cards, and now I'm at a point here 7 years later, I've lost money every year, yes, but I need a loan to keep my business going. And I say, you've just proved to anybody who might even consider loaning you money that you're not gonna pay it back, okay? Because you don't have the ability, you don't have a business that's viable. You should have been looking at this thing on a regular basis, every month, not every year, let alone not look at it every year, and the P&L will tell you how things are going on a real-time basis.
The balance sheet,
Okay, we had talked about assets and liabilities, and I think most people have a general familiarity with the concept. The assets are the good things, the things that you own, but on the other hand are your liabilities, and also in your liabilities is something which in the business world we call stockholders' equity or stockholders' capital, depending on whether or not you're working in a big business. These are good things to keep track of. And if you are in the position where you're talking to someone about your business or maybe selling your business, this is the kind of stuff that they're going to want to know about. What does your business own and what does your business owe?
and production, production and overhead costs. You've got costs of doing, whether you are buying and reselling a product, whether you're manufacturing or assembling a product, or whatever you're doing. There's going to be costs incurred, and you're going to keep track of those too.
Right, and this can also help you identify what products or services that you produce or provide that are really the most profitable for you. You may find that one of the services you provide or one of the products that you make just isn't a big seller. It just isn't worth it to keep it on hand, whereas this other product or service is something that is in very big demand. So you'll want to switch your resource allocation to promote that line of business that's really going to give you some profitability.
When you have 50 products and you don't know, and if I ask you and you don't know which one or which ones are the most profitable, and which are not, suppose you're losing money on a product line, but you actually don't know because you don't track it.
Right.
Can't manage what you don't measure. Have I ever
Right.
said
And you
that?
know, one of the things now that we're on that topic that I want to mention is your labor, your own time that you put into
Time.
it. You might have something that costs 10 cents as far as raw materials are concerned, and you sell it for $1. But if it takes you 10 hours to make that product, that may not be quite as profitable for you as you think.
I'm making 9 cents an hour.
There you go.
You have more types of reporting on the business, such as AR, accounts receivable.
Yep.
What people owe you.
That's pretty much it. Accounts receivable is considered an asset. It's a good thing because
Sure.
this is money that you expect to have coming in. Conversely, there are accounts payable. It tells you what you owe and when you owe it, which is very important. Remember, we had talked about cash flow. So you want to try to be sure that you're paying bills at a time when you're going to have a lot of cash so you don't fall behind. The next one is there are tax reports. I think Bill had referenced sales tax. If you're selling a product, you have to report monthly and as well as remit monthly what your sales taxes are. These reports come automatically. Another feature.
That's become a complexity. I mean, sales
Right.
tax is no longer a simple thing, and whether you are selling in-state or out of state, or for export, or other issues come in, that tax thing all of a sudden becomes complex, and tracking it a burden unless you make use of the software.
Right, and another kind of tax, another feature regarding taxes, many of these software products also will incorporate the ability to file automatically if you do your own taxes. And that's nice. If you don't do your own taxes, these tax reports will help provide the information that your accountant or tax provider will need so that they can do the filing for you. And as we said, they charge by the hour, so the easier you make their job, the less cost it'll be.
Much nicer to walk in a summary sheet and hand them that than a box of receipts,
Right,
which they're gonna spend 4 hours going through and putting on a summary sheet.
exactly.
And $150 an hour, or whatever that account's charging, save you an awful lot of money.
Customer vendor reports.
We kind of touched on this a little bit. These will tell you a little bit about your customers, when they pay, when they buy, what it is they buy, and vendor reports. We had referenced earlier about discovering that one of your vendors will give you a deal on some of your raw materials if you purchase a certain amount or if you purchase at a certain time. And this will identify that. And you might find that one of the vendors is a little more expensive. So maybe you need to shift to another vendor. The closer vendor may be a little more expensive, but the shipping costs are less. And so these are the kinds of reports that help you make those decisions.
And time is of the essence. If you need to buy from a vendor, it's gonna take you 4 weeks to get something. That means you've got to stock much more of that product, and you're not gonna get the turns you want, which this will also tell you how your inventory is turning. You might want to buy from a local vendor. Instead of buying 4,000, you could buy 400. He can deliver them every day. Thank you very much. Walmart,
Right.
that's their business model. They turn their inventory like crazy.
Right, and another, when we talked about vendors, if you talk about a retailer, you might find who is selling your services or your product. So you might want to carry more of your product with that particular retailer
Right.
or that venue.
And why, Jackie, why do I need all these reports?
Okay.
If you're sitting on the couch and watching the show and going to sleep, you say, what do I need all this stuff for, Coach?
To survive.
Come on, the first one is your favorite, is help from SCORE or SBDC.
Gee, there are people out there that are actually like you, very bright, and Jackie, that have been through this, and there's all kinds of free assistance out there. Go get the assistance. Go talk to these folks.
Right. And SCORE, I'll put in a plug for you guys.
Yeah.
These are all business people, and we talked about how these accounting terms and these reports are part of the business world, an integral part of the business world. You may look at the reports and maybe it doesn't make sense to you, but these folks have been looking at reports like this and gleaning information for years, and they will be able to identify things right away once you can provide that information and you provide it in a format they're familiar with.
Notice I didn't say go see your local SBDC person, Small Business Development Center, because I'm already buried with work. So go see somebody at SCORE, not the SBD. Well, if you're not on Cape Cod, you can go see an SBDC advisor.
But there are other people that you need this for, Jackie.
Exactly. We talked about banks earlier. If you need to go to a bank for a loan, they're going to ask you for these standard reports in standard format, and they're going to assess the viability of your business, whether or not to give you a loan or how much of a loan to give you, based on what they get out of these reports.
And not only the reports, the ability for you to speak about those reports intelligently to the banker gives the banker a warm, fuzzy feeling that, gee, this person really understands what's going on in their business. I watch all the business shows. There's all kinds of business shows on TV now. The Profit, Billionaire Buyer, besides just Shark Tank. I don't watch them all because they're all about business, and that's my love, is business. And that guy, the billionaire buyer, says, go ahead, ask me anything you want about any part of any one of my businesses, and I'll give you an answer right off the top of my head. If you can't do that for your small business, get yourself these things. And because you have to be able to intelligently answer quickly bankers' questions, because banking's a relationship business. And if they feel like you really know what you're talking about, you really understand your business, you're handing me a good loan package, you're going to get your money.
Exactly. And you mentioned the loan package. This is information that will have to go on that application.
Absolutely.
And investors.
Oh, investors.
You mentioned
certainly.
Coach mentioned Shark Tank. But maybe you're not going to appear on the next Shark Tank. It doesn't matter. But if you're talking with someone who's interested in your business.
Mm-hmm. Right, and investors would be, we used to call them venture capitalists back in San Francisco, when you're starting up businesses. Now this works a lot of different ways. You might have someone who's investing because you're going to grow your business, but you might want to sell your business. Now just as sort of an interesting note, I was back in San Francisco during the big tech boom, and a lot of people, what they were doing was analyzing the business at large and filling in the gaps. They were coming up with niche software, basically was what it was, that they saw a need for. And then they would get funding for that, and that was when we went to the venture capitalists. But also, they attracted the interest of the main businesses. So say you developed a product that was compatible with insurance companies. You might have an insurance company that wants to see, well, how much market research did they do? How viable is their business? What is the interest in their product? And they're going to ask for the financials. Believe me, the first people they send out the gate are the accountants. They're going to ask for the financials, and they're going to make some decisions about what your business is worth based on these reports and based on this financial software.
Right.
And then there's our friends at the IRS.
You know, the IRS audits a lot of small businesses, and it really doesn't need to be as threatening as it sounds. as long as you have these reports, and I think Coach referred to this, you look like you know what you're doing, and that's going to be a big help.
Huge.
If you can actually speak to what you have on these reports, that's even better. Now, obviously, you'll bring in your accountant and your tax preparer and everybody else, but you're not just sitting there mutely. You're part of the conversation, and you really understand what you did, why you did it, and what the results were.
And you can defend why you did
And you
it
can defend it, exactly.
intelligently, right?
And then there's yourself.
And then there's yourself.
And then there's yourself. Let's not forget yourself,
That's
because
true.
you might like to know something about your own business. Thank you very much.
That's true. That's
Right.
true. And you know, one other thing I didn't mention on this, many of these software products will also allow you the ability to scan things and attach them. So you can scan receipts and attach them. So if someone says, I want to see the receipt that you have for going through a toll booth, there it is. There's the
Right
receipt
there.
with the date and stamped. You don't have to go looking through a shoebox to find it.
Or go to the bank to get a copy of the deposit like I used to have to do when I was audited, because we just had a big mini computer, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that gave us a bunch of data but no information to speak of, you know, with the printer would, you know, give you this much, and then you had to pull it out, and then the IRS agent would say, well, what went into this deposit? Well, call the bank, get the copies, you know, boom, now you can just print it.
That's right. It's already there.
Finding relevant software for your business, Jackie, how are we going to do that?
It's pretty easy. Obviously, you can go online, but you can also just walk down to your local Best Buy or Staples or any office supply store. Just about anybody who sells computers is going to sell computer software. It's readily available. It tends to run from about $50 on up. It's usually available in both Mac or PC format. Now, the decisions you need to make, these are some things you need to think about before you take yourself out shopping. And one of them is, what kind of company do you have? And the other is, what's your size? If you are a one-man operation, you probably don't need a software package that has an elaborate payroll facility. So you can buy something smaller. But if you have a couple of people and it looks like your business has a very bright future, you might want to get a product that you can expand.
Right.
And many of these products will allow you to buy in at a base level and then add on at a lower cost as your business expands. And then last but not least, and this is kind of a personal preference, cloud versus computer-based. A lot of people have heard about the cloud. It's a nice esoteric term, but in reality, your data is sitting on a computer somewhere. In fact, it's sitting on what's called a server, and it's usually located in an area with really cheap real estate, and that's where they build these things called server farms. The advantage of having your data in the cloud, so to speak, is that it's available over the internet. You can get it anywhere, anytime. So if you happen to be on vacation and all you have is your smartphone, or maybe you have an iPad or something like that, usually the software will come and it's accommodating it, and you can get that information
log in,
right away from anywhere. However, some people aren't comfortable with that, and then you would get software that sits on your PC. The disadvantage would be that you'd have to lug your PC with you, and you do have to remember to do your own backups. The server farms do backups for you, so it's a little safer that way. But the PC is yours and yours to protect and take care of.
And there are multiple vendors for selection. What about that?
There are plenty. Quicken is one of the products that people are most familiar with. It's made by Intuit. It's kind of a step above keeping a checkbook, but it's a good place to start for a very small business. Also by Intuit is probably the industry leader, that's QuickBooks. QuickBooks has a wide range of what they offer. Everything from something that's on a par to Quicken all the way up. I've seen QuickBooks installations that have multiple POS terminals, those are cash registers. They have multiple printers. They allow you to put the data in the cloud if you'd like. They have very elaborate payroll personnel systems. With something like Quicken, they also allow the ability to upgrade as your business grows. Comparable to Quicken is a product called Sage 50. They used to be called Peachtree Software. The products are very similar in what they offer and what they can do. It's really just a matter of personal preference, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. There's another cloud-based product called Xero. This is, like I said, 100% cloud-based. It's all internet-based. The software itself resides on the internet, if that's what you're more comfortable with. And then there's a relatively new player called NetSuite. This is produced by a company called Oracle. Oracle is predominantly a database company, but this is their entry, and I mentioned it just to show you some of the products that are available. There are actually much more. If you go out online and you just Google something like small business software, you will find a wide array. And you'll find that some of these products are rated, and some of them will give information. They're rated by flexibility, or they're rated by complexity, or they're rated by ability to grow. There's lots of information out there.
Find this stuff on the internet. You can go right to the website for these products. Go to Amazon. Jeff Bezos would love to sell you
Anything.
anything, including your Quicken or QuickBooks or Sage 50 software, whatever. So it's very, this is easy. Or just trot on down to your local business store.
Down to
right.
Staples or,
Yeah.
And also to mention, if you are a nonprofit, for example, there are organizations that will provide discounted versions of the software.
Right.
So it's worth it to shop around. I know that one that we used in a nonprofit that I was involved in was called TechSoup. They're out of San Francisco. You can see my bias there, obviously. But they were able to provide software to certain nonprofits at a discounted price.
And let's get down, Coach and Jackie, let's get down to the nitty gritty. People, if you've stuck with us and you're listening and paying attention to what we're saying, we get down to the nitty gritty, which is how am I actually going to go about this? And especially, I'm saying this because small business, the thing about small business is time. Small businesses have very few people, maybe one person or 10 or 20 people. I don't care what the number is, but there's a premium on time. So you install the software, but the minute you install it, or whether you have it on your computer or have it in the cloud, whatever, the information about your business, you have to enter all the relevant information. You can't drop stuff out. You've got to be precise and enter the data, the full complete data, at the right time
Timely.
and in the right place. So it's not an artistic concept or poetry. This is a precision deal. So as a small business person, Coach, I mean, let's be practical. How are we going to do it? Jackie, most important, you have a list here. What was your thinking on this list?
Well, I think Coach alluded to the fact that you can find consultants out there that can help you set it up.
Sure.
And it might be a worthwhile investment. But if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you might want to do it if you're comfortable with computers and you have a familiarity with the software and you have a finance background, there's no harm in doing it yourself. You might want to take a class. As I said, there's plenty of online courses available, but some people feel more comfortable going down to a community college and sitting in a class and learning that way. Very nice. All of these products offer demos and trial versions. So you can shop around online and you can take it out for a spin and see how you like it. See which one of those products you think you're going to be most comfortable with. Again, we talked about hiring someone, and as a tangent to that, once you've installed the software or you've chosen the software and you do decide to go with an accountant or bookkeeper, your accountant or bookkeeper may use that software and they can certainly help you out. They may be happy to work on your systems at your shop if you happen to have the computer at your shop rather than keeping it on their own computer.
yeah, your CPA may have a paraprofessional working for her, and she could send him out to your site, work for you for a couple of hours, make sure you get off on the right foot, make sure that everything's tied together properly, you pick the right accounts.
And even help you with the bookkeeping. If you,
Yeah, absolutely.
You hire a bookkeeper, there's no reason the bookkeeper has to keep everything on a separate computer in his or her own office.
Nope.
They can visit your office and work on your computer.
Right.
One thing about a small business, there's an opportunity cost. What I'm talking about here is that if you as a business owner, if you get the software and you're entering the information yourself, by definition, at the moment you're doing that, you're not selling.
That's true.
You're not buying inventory. You're not looking at those reports that we were talking about. I mean, in other words, I'm entering this data, but by token, I'm not doing something else. That's called an opportunity cost. You got to think about that. Say, oh, I want to do everything myself. So now you get the software, you install it, and you're putting in, sales and invoices and receipts and all this kind of customer information. Great. I personally don't recommend it. I recommend having someone else do that for you. This this type of software that we've been discussing has created a whole new job over the last 10 years of people who will help you as a small business person, enter that data. By the way, also all the data that you put into this system, it's all set up now that you can go boop, dink, and just send it over to your accountant
Exactly.
electronically. Thank you very much. Instead of the shoebox that the coach was talking about. Coach loves shoeboxes. But enter transactions daily. You have to. It's
That's-
a precision
Discipline.
Yeah.
discipline.
That's the most important part. Like we had said, you can join a gym on January 2nd, but if you never go, you're not going to get in shape. And you can buy the software and you can pay someone to set it up very nicely for you, but if you don't enter the transactions, it's not going to help. And enter them daily. The importance of this is things can get lost. You'll have stacks of receipts, and then the cat jumps on the table and knocks one of them off, and you find it 3 months later, and it might be too late to do anything about it. You have to really, really be attentive. Keep it separate and be sure you just keep after it on a regular basis.
Thank you very much for watching. We have tried to cover this subject adequately, and we've got an expert, Jacki Rivero, with us to help work our way through it. And this is the Fox Robbins Business Show. And please send any comments that you might have to foxrobbins@gmail.com. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.